policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Say it with me. I'm not going to do something just for black people. No. She has said that she has not backed off of that. She has not wavered from that. She has continued on pretending that black people aren't asking for anything. And guess what? A lot of black supporters aren't asking her for anything. But I'm telling y'all, some of y'all who said maybe you're going to ride the couch and maybe you're thinking about it, we got to start listening to these people. She's told us, I'm not going to do nothing just for black people. Even though she's done things for everybody else but black people. She was there in the White House with Joe Biden. They put her over the border where they opened it wide open and let anybody and everybody want to come over here and get what there is to get. She did that. But yet she sit up and tell you, I ain't gonna do nothing just for you because you black. But she run around talking about she black. Don't you do for people who are like you? Because it's going to take black people to get her in the office. She can't do that without black people, but she's smug about it. Now, of course, she said that when she was running for president in 2020 when she was not successful. But have y'all heard her change her tune? Say, you know what? I know I said I wasn't going to do nothing for black people, but I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to give you 2 pieces of chicken and a biscuit. She ain't even said that. She ain't even said, I'm going to give you some of these crunchy greens that I get up out of my bathtub. She ain't even said that. Nothing. Because she knows that all she got to do is wiggle and jiggle and giggle. And black people were silly enough to put her in office without asking her for nothing, even though she says, I'm not going to do nothing just for you. But there's a whole lot of migrants that's in a whole lot of black neighborhoods that has gotten something thanks to the policies, the open border policies of Joe and Kamala. Oh yeah, they got to own that. There's a lot of black people in black neighborhoods that'll never be the same. It will never go back to where it was because all the migrants have moved in there, set up shop. They get money, housing, everything else, job, training, you name it. They're getting it all. Thanks to that of Kamala Harris. And she done told black people, I'm not going to do nothing just for you. No. Look on her face was just like, pfft.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing fine. Now, there is this video going viral on the internet of Kamala Harris saying no to reparations. Now, she doesn't believe that black people should be reparated either from Jamaica, the US, UK, or any other part of the world. She has her own policies. So let's look at this video, then have a quick discussion at the end of it. What does she really stand for? And what does she really want to bring for the black people in the Caribbean and in the US?
You kidding me? What kind of mess is this? You asking me to do? That's how she was looking. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I got from it. I'm pretty good at reading people, and that's what she looked disgusted, like, how dare you?
Support financial reparations?
I support that we study that. We should study it and see. But look, let's look at this, for example. One of the issues that is very clear is that trauma, years of trauma or even one experience with trauma can lead to lifelong consequences. I'm supporting some work and was part of some work that started years ago looking at children who are growing up in a community where there is violence. And if you look at the associated then physical health effects that are associated with exposure to trauma, and what that can mean in terms of physical disability, not to mention what it means in terms of a child's ability to learn and be educated. There are real factors that can be associated with trauma. And when you are talking about the years and years and years of trauma that were experienced because of slavery, because of Jim Crow, and because of all that we have seen in terms of institutional and legal discrimination and racism, this is very real and it needs to be studied, and we need to look at exactly how the response should be played out and how it should be worked.
You support reparations for black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
One of the questions that the black community has is, Senator Harris, if you are elected president, what would be your agenda for the black community?
Right.
We know that black Americans are arrested at higher rates for marijuana. We're denied mortgages when loans for mortgages. There's a wealth disparity. So how do you help the black community from the White House?
That's right. Well, the first step is to understand that the needs of black folks are the needs of everyone, and the needs of everyone are the needs of black folks. It is also equally important to understand that this is a country that had over 200 years of slavery, had Jim Crow, had legalized segregation and discrimination, and now de facto segregation and discrimination. And so while our needs are like everyone else's in terms of we want our babies to be born healthy and live a happy and productive life, we care about issues of climate change, we care about issues of national security, we also know that when you look at disparities around wealth, around home ownership, around education, around who is stopped, arrested, and incarcerated in this country, there are huge disparities based on race, and that has to be dealt with. So part of my proposal in terms of the agenda, specifically for black folks, is about what we need to do, for example, around maternal mortality. I have actually sponsored a bill and intend, as President of the United States, to make sure it is passed around recognizing that black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. And when you study the issue, you know that it is not about the education level of somebody, it is not about their socioeconomic level, it is literally about their race. Remember what happened to Serena. It is literally about racial bias in the medical health professions that cause people to not take black women seriously when they walk into the door of that hospital or that emergency room in terms of how they talk about what they need. The agenda includes HBCUs, for example. I am a proud graduate of Howard University. I know that our HBCUs have raised and helped raise generations of leaders in this country, and do it in a very special way that is about nurturing and about creating high standards and challenging young people to be their best, not giving them any excuse but giving them all kinds of support. So we need to do more. Yeah, I'm right now working on, and actually got it out of the Senate, and the House passed it around giving more money to HBCUs around their historic landmarks. But there's more to be done around creating incentives for more young people to go into the STEM professions through HBCUs. There is what we need to do around the point that you were raising about the economic disparities. I have a proposal that will be my first order of business when elected president, that is about lifting up middle-class working families. And what I'm proposing specifically is that families that are making $100,000 or less would get a tax credit that they would receive it up to $500 a month. This proposal, economists across the board have said, would be the most significant middle-class tax cut for American families and generations, and it would lift up 60% of black families out of poverty.
So it does touch black families.
Oh, absolutely, directly,
about the middle
directly. Because when you look at the proportionality of where black families are, you see it in terms of housing and home ownership. Where white families, something, I'm going to get this generally right, but something around 70% of white families own their homes versus somewhere around 40% for black families.
Yeah.
So you don't have to look very hard to see that disparities exist. But you also don't have to look very hard to see this, that when we're talking about families, regardless of their color, they have an equal desire to work hard, to love their children, and allow them to have a pathway and an equal pathway to success. Black mothers, white mothers of whatever race wake up in the middle of the night worrying about their children and their health and their well-being, and we need to address that. But I will say there's another issue that we need to address that's specific to black families, and that is this. We cannot have a society where a father or a mother, by the time their son turns about 12 years old, has to sit down and have the talk with him about how he will be stopped or chased or arrested or even killed because of the color of his skin.
And so how do you intend to change that from the White House? How would you change policy around that?
Part of it is that the president makes a decision about who's going to run the United States Department of Justice. Currently, under this administration, they have shut down the pattern and practice investigations that involve investigating police departments that have a pattern and practice of discrimination. Those need to be reopened and revived with vigor, because no American should want that a police department that has a history and a pattern and practice of discrimination should be able to get away with that without consequence and accountability. Another issue is what happens through the Department of Justice around consent decrees, which are basically a requirement that police departments that have a history of that kind of behavior, they're under a court order for supervision. This Department of Justice has essentially shut those down.
Right.
Now, I'm very sorry for every Kamala Harris supporter around the world who will be watching this video. Now, I'm giving my apologies because I'm not going to accept or agree with whatever she's saying. Now, first, we've seen her on the campaign trails talking about black nation, talking about black people, and how black people will tend to benefit when she ascends to power. Now, I'm made to believe that she's the prime minister, she is the vice president at the moment. Now, the president of the United States of America, I'm talking about Joe Biden, rarely appears for job. Now, he rarely comes to job, meaning Kamala Harris is the one who has been running the country for the last 1 year and saying that the black nation should actually get jobs. I think she has all the capability, she has all the powers to make black people have a better life in the US. Now, talking about reparations, I do not believe reparations are free money given out of sympathy. Now, let's go and draw back where all this thing is coming from, and why are black people asking for reparations, and why we, the people in Africa, are actually advocating for reparations for our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Now, coming back 300 years back, we know whatever happened, and so many black brothers were abducted, and the majority were being sold by our fools. Let me call them fools. The chiefs by then, those who were ruling, the kings, were selling our brothers to go and work as slaves. Now, in South and Northern America and in some parts of Europe. Now, 100 years later, I'm talking about between 17 to 1800, US and Europe achieved a major economic boost. I'm talking about the revolutions that took place, the industrial revolution that took place in the US and that took place in Europe. Now, go look at some of the factors that actually facilitated, that made it easier for industrial revolution to take place between the two sides. Now, in their books, they won't indicate that the black labor, the labor that the black people brought to the United States of America, the labor that the black people came with, their energy, their sweat is whatever made their economies to be where they are today. Now, let's talk about this. Brothers and sisters who are watching this video, you might not realize how much you've played a role in making sure they are where they are today. It is because of you. It is because of your ancestors. It's because of your grandma. It's because of your dad that the US is a superpower today. Now talking about reparations. Reparations are not free money. We demand this because our mineral resources are in their countries. The coal that is being mined in this country, DRC Congo, where people are fighting day and night, is not benefiting the people of Congo in Africa. It's benefiting the US. Now, the gold that is being mined in Benin, in Mali, in Ghana, and all those Western countries do not benefit the people of those countries. It has benefited the people of France. Talking about that, England has no any gold mine. There are no gold deposits in England, in the UK, I mean. But see how much gold reserves they have. Go to Spain. How much gold reserves they have. Now, go to France, which is leading in gold reserves in the world. No single gold reserves. They are not mining any gold in their country. But they have exploited Africa for the longest time. Our brothers and sisters have been working for them. And they have made sure their economy is so stable using our own sweat and blood from Africa. Why are we asking for reparations? You still want some more reasons? Now, go see how many Africans died. How many black people died in the diaspora. Not because they were sick, no. Some were killed. See how racism has affected our brothers and sisters. Their land was taken by the white settlers who are calling themselves missionary. Then after that, they were taken to a place where they know no one, no land, but as slaves. Now they have worked their asses out, and now they are where they are today. Some have made it and some are still struggling to survive. And you still want to vie as the president of the US, who claims to be black, but you don't want to support the black people to get their rightful reparations. We are not asking. They are not asking because it's out of sympathy. No. It's because they deserve the reparations. When are we going to get that? They owe us a lot of money. Talking about debt, they're the one owning us. They owe us a lot of money. Billions of dollars, if not billions, trillions of dollars. Because our economy is so down in Africa today, just because of them. Go to West Africa, see how many countries are fighting, see how many people, how many children, how many women, how many minors have been displaced just because of the wars being caused by France, by the war being caused by the government of the US. They used some of our black people to fight their own countries. Now go look at Libya. Total damage in Libya. That's how they've always wanted. And when we ask for reparations, we are not asking for their money. We are asking for whatever is rightful to us. Our brothers and sisters should be given reparations. They should be compensated for the damage. Now, there is a court, the court of UK. It once ruled that the people who fought for the independence of Kenya and those who that were killed, we call them Mau Mau. Those people who were killed when fighting, they were to be reparated. Up to date, we are talking about billions of shillings. No one has ever talked about that. Then they go ahead, liars with our puppet leaders from Africa, so that you can't talk. Our black brothers in the diaspora can't talk. They have no voice, because even when they elect their own black people, they can't stand for them. They elected Barack Obama. He never represented them. He represented the white majority. Now, they are going to elect Kamala Harris. I'm not against her being the president, but on what policies? What does she actually have to offer for the black nation? We are not asking for jobs. We are not asking for a better life. We are asking for a better environment. An environment where they won't be racially segregated. An environment where it is fair for black people and white people. In an environment where you can go ask for a job without someone looking at your color. That's whatever they're asking for. Even if Trump wins to be the president, or Kamala Harris wins to be the president, they are not asking you to provide for them on a daily basis. They are not asking you to give them money to live. They are asking for what is rightfully belonging to them. We are talking about reparations. We are talking about freedom. We are talking about they obey human rights, and they should apply fully and not biasly. They should actually serve the white and black people equally. That's whatever they're asking for. So this is the time, brothers and sisters, we should rise and not be actually embedded by the fact that she is a black guy or he is one of our own. If she's not going to serve the interests of black people, then we have no reason. Black people have no reason to elect her. If she's not going to represent the black nation, she has been the vice president for the longest time. Now, I know the options are even worse. Now, talking about Donald Trump, how is he going to actually talk for the black nation? How is Kamala Harris going to talk for the black nation? That's my question today. We do not want to see the same things being repeated so often. We do not want to make the same mistakes. So black brothers and sisters in the diaspora, this is your time. Take your time. Go through the policies. Go through their manifestos. Know whatever they stand for and whatever they have been advocating for their whole political life. And before you go on the ballot and make that choice, be sober of whatever you people want. Thank you so much for having taken your time to watch this video. Black people, reparations are not grants. These are not grants or aid being given to you. You actually deserve them. You deserve reparations. You deserve to be compensated. So let no one come and tell you on other options. Option number one, be reparated first. Thank you so much.